Okay.
Just before the program itself, the class is going to allow Aarti at 12:30. Then I'm going to ask Mesha and Tejas to do the 12:30 Kirtan, which will coincide with the prayer, global prayer. Because we thought we go to 1 o'clock, so it will be silent. So it's a clash for the
Right. Okay.
So,
This is organized by Baruch, is it?
yes, he arranged that.
So what am I meant to do?
You got the class till the Aarti.
12:30. And then?
Then we'll just do the midday Aarti.
Okay.
And we'll coincide with the Kirtan program.
Okay. So someone else will sing now.
Mesha. She was appointed by Purush.
Oh.
Thanks much. Hare Krishna. Nishingade Bhagavan ki Namaste Sringhaya. Pralada Lada Dayane Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shilatanka Nakalaye Ito Nishingho Parato Nishimai Yato Yato Yami Tato Nishimai Bahi Nishimho Hridaye Nishimai Bahi Nishimho Hridaye Nishimai Nashingamadim Sharanam Prapade Narashingamadim Sharanam Prapade Tabakara Kamalavare Naka Adbhuta Shringa Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanu Bringam Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Tavakara Kamalava Jaya Nishringadev, 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 Jaya Nishringadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaka Nishingade Bhagavan ki, Bhakta Shresh Prahlad Maharaj ki. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for coming to the Sunday Love Feast program. Today is a very special program, the Chandan Yatra program, which will be explained in the course of the class today as well. It's our great pleasure to have with us to present the Sunday Love Feast class His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami. For the devotees, we have no need for any introduction to Maharaj, but we have many new guests with us today, and we'd like to welcome them as well. Let us give them a nice round of applause to welcome our new guests. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is a regular feature every Sunday at 11 onwards, so you are welcome all the time. And any of the weekdays, you can come to visit us as well. So His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Swami, who is seated here, is originally from New Zealand, and he joined ISKCON early in the 70s and is a direct disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder of ISKCON. And he's currently an initiating spiritual master, and prior to COVID, Maharaj was traveling incessantly all over the world, especially to the Eastern Bloc countries and Russia and so on, which we know is in the news now. And Maharaj has been very instrumental in establishing this temple and ISKCON in South Africa. Currently, he is the governing body commissioner. That means the head of our ISKCON South Africa. And not only that, he's the head of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness globally. So Maharaj is the head of ISKCON, and we are very, very privileged to have him here give us the class today. The topic that's going to be spoken about today is called the Golden Flood, Gaura Revealed, who is Lord Chaitanya. So indeed that's a good topic even for those who have come for the first time. Who is Lord Chaitanya? This month commemorates Lord Chaitanya's appearance day on the 18th of March. So all our topics have been building up in that theme. After the class, there is a commemoration of, or rather a world prayer, right? Global peace prayer for the war-torn situation that's happening now, and for all areas of the world in which there's so much of violence. So let us pray for peace, and that will be led by Mesha, Bhakti Mesha, and accompanied by Tejas Swarup Prabhu. So Maharaj, we kindly hand over to you and ask you to address us. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. I don't know if we've got enough volume here. Do we have enough volume here? Well, I think that's enough volume. Okay, devotees and friends, here we go. First of all, let's sing Jai Radha Madhava. And although what Smita Krishna Prabhu said was sort of true, I guess, my chairmanship of our international governing body finishes on Wednesday. Thankfully. It's the third time I've done it. Sure, and each time it's more involved. So, but yes, I'll be a sort of free man or something Wednesday night. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhari. Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachare. Yamunatira Vanachare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhari. Gopi Jana Balava Giribaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachare. Yamunatira Vanachare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Status Systematis His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Shri Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Shri Gopanima Mahotsava Ki Go Premanande. All glories to the Samo devotees, all glories to the Samo devotees, all glories to the Samo devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Yes, so Hare Krishna, everyone. How nice to be with you again today. And as was just briefly mentioned a few minutes ago, we are going to focus right now on a personality known as Lord Caitanya. Lord Caitanya is the most recent incarnation of Lord Krishna, for those of you who might not be familiar with Krishna consciousness. So, yeah, actually on the 18th, which is what would it be next week, is it, or the week after? Anyway, on the 18th. On the 18th. It's 2 weeks. Right, in 2 weeks is what we call the appearance day of Lord Caitanya, the most recent incarnation of Lord Krishna, as we mentioned. So it's his appearance day on Friday in 2 weeks. It's a big day for us. It's an important day for us because he's a very prominent personality in our line. He's a historical, very much a historical personality who was living 500 years ago, not an extremely long period of time, according to cosmic standards. So there are many, not many, but there are several detailed biographies of Lord Caitanya covering thousands of pages, thousands and thousands. So he's very much a real historical personality. And he is, as we said, the most recent incarnation of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna is the source, the original form of the Supreme Lord, the source of the many other incarnations who have appeared going back through the millennia. Here in Krishna consciousness, we don't just talk about a few hundred years or even a few thousand years. Lord Brahma, the creator of this universe, creator in the sense of engineer, putting together ingredients which were provided. He lives for some, according to our experience and calculation of time, something like 300 trillion of our years. That's a long time. Yeah. So in Krishna consciousness, sometimes we deal in these rather sort of, by regular standards, shall we say, kind of quite fantastic ideas. So Krishna incarnates from time to time within this world in order to, as Krishna himself says in Bhagavad Gita, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna is speaking there in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That's verse 9 of the 4th chapter, that I appear to protect and deliver the devotees and And that's what we're going to talk about today. To some of you who are not maybe familiar with these things, it may be, some of it may be just a little difficult to really absorb. But anyway, this is what it's all about. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, our founder, when he first, Sri Radharanath Sri Giri Govardhan Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. When he first took some of our Western devotees to India back in the very early 70s, sometimes he would lecture to a crowd particularly in Hindi, in North India, in the Hindi language, which none of our American and European devotees at that time could understand at all. But still he insisted that they stay, even though they didn't actually understand what to speak of some of the subtleties, but they literally didn't understand a word. But he said still there's spiritual benefit from the transcendental spiritual sound vibration. So, okay, let's get into it. So, first thing I wanted to mention is that in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam's one of our main literatures along with Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's a vast literature. Like I said, we deal in vast things. Srimad Bhagavatam, this is from the 10th canto, there's 12, and altogether the number of pages is something like, I've never counted the total number, but it's something like, I'm sure it's at least 15,000, probably, or quite possibly more. So anyway, there in the 10th canto, where it's describing Lord Krishna and his appearance in this world, which was 5,000 years ago. So during what they call the name-giving ceremony, in the name-giving ceremony for Lord Krishna, which was carried out by his, so to speak, parents. Of course, God has no parents, but for the sake of the pastimes and the relationships, those devotees who are taking the role as if they're his parents, so they organized the name-giving ceremony, which was very standard feature of the culture for children. And the priest, Gagamuni, who was performing the name-giving ceremony, he was like, you could say, a seer. He was a really extremely deep person. And he said, this child of yours, Krishna, this child of yours appears in different colors, in the different ages. According to the Vedic scriptures, time within the universe, time goes on on a cyclical basis. There are 4 ages which repeat themselves and repeat themselves and repeat themselves. Satya Yuga, which is a golden age, Treta Yuga, which is, I guess you'd say, like a silver age, Dwapara Yuga, which is something like a bronze age, something like that, and then Kali Yuga, which is an iron age. The age, actually, Kali indicates quarrel and hypocrisy. Take a wild guess what age we're in now. No prizes for that. But it's Kali Yuga. It's a disaster. You know, there we were struggling with life in South Africa, and, you know, the political situation, the crime situation, you all know what I'm talking about. There we were struggling with that, and then along came COVID. My Lord. And then we thought we're sort of getting a handle on COVID, and then Russia, it appears, is trying to start a third world war or something. Something just extreme, really super extreme. So it's Kali Yuga. So anyway, back to that situation there, the name-giving ceremony. Gargamuni, who's a great seer, he told Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda, the, you know, quote-unquote parents of Lord Krishna, your child has appeared in all of the ages, or he regularly appears, because there's the cycle of the four, and the cycle repeats itself. He appears in all these four ages. And in the first age, Satya Yuga, which is kind of like we said a golden age, he appears in a white color. When I say white, I don't mean like me. You know, white is a misnomer, really. It means white, like our young man here, you see, with a very nice black mask. You see his nice t-shirt? That's white. So Krishna appears in a white form then. And in the Treta Yuga, the second age, he appears in a red form, actual red form. And Krishna was appearing in the third age, the Dwapara Yuga, and Gargamuni said, in this age, he's appearing in a black form, actual black. Oh, like my mask, my beautiful mask. Isn't it lovely? Gee whiz. Anyway, when will the health situation stabilize sufficiently so we don't have to wear masks? Anyway, we can pray for that. Yeah, so Krishna appeared in a blackish form. Blackish. Blackish. In Sanskrit, the term is shyama. And shyama means blackish, but actually sort of bluish black, predominantly black, but with a kind of bluish hue there. And then, in this age, Gargamuni said, he will appear, because this was before this age started, it was the previous age, Dwapara Yuga. He's going to appear in a golden form, or a yellowish form, golden form, like that. So this now, that is Lord Caitanya. He appears in the Kali Yuga. He is Krishna. He's not some other person, like we're all distinct individuals, distinct from each other. But this is now Krishna himself appearing in this age, but in a sort of golden type form. And so there's a verse I want to read to you. It's sort of, to some degree, the verse we'll focus on today. It's from Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is how it goes. This is the Sanskrit. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parshadam Yagyai Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Hi Sumedhasa, which means, in the age of Kali, this age, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. So, there's some detail here, a little bit of detail we'll get into. And first thing is that here we're talking about Krishna himself, who is the source of all incarnations, but he is appearing in a special form. He's not just what we call an expansion. An expansion, an expanded form of the Lord is still the Lord, but just partially manifest. He's not manifesting all of his qualities, characteristics, not demonstrating his particular qualities, not demonstrating his particular activities. So it's a partial form of himself. So in every Kali Yuga, devotees and friends, try and get hold of this idea. The Lord appears in such an expanded form, not a full manifestation of God, a partial manifestation. Still, we must say, pretty impressive, way beyond any of us, way beyond all of us put together. So in every Kali Yuga, the Lord appears in such a form, a golden or yellowish color. And what does he do? Well, actually, the verse that we just read mentions the basic idea, Yagyai Sankirtana Prayar. He establishes what is the specific religious activity, or say the most recommended religious activity for this age, because under different circumstances, socially and so on, different approaches to different things will be most or more effective. Yeah, in terms of being able to capture the interest of the people. So in the Kali Yuga, the Lord, in order to really capture the interest of the people, he presents a particular type of religious activity. There are so many types of religious activities. They're all very wonderful. But in the Kali Yuga, he particularly emphasizes a particular religious activity every time. And that is, as we read, Yagyai Sankirtana Praya, which means the performance of the chanting of the names of the Supreme Lord. That is according to the Vedic scriptures and the Vedic tradition, that is the recommended religious activity for this age of Kali. And every Kali Yuga, a partial form of Krishna comes and does that. But not exactly the names or the name Krishna, but the names of lesser forms of the Lord. Vishnu, different names of Lord Vishnu, who is a lesser form of Krishna. But in this Kali Yuga, Krishna appears himself fully, not just a partial form. He appears in full manifestation to teach the chanting of the holy names, but most particularly and specifically, the chanting of the name Krishna, which, as Krishna himself is the supreme amongst his many different forms, so his name, Krishna, is the supreme of the names and the supremely powerful of the names of the Lord. So this is Lord Caitanya. You want to hear something really technical? Fasten your seatbelts. Some of you won't get this, but we'll just present it anyway because it's the truth. According to the Vedic literatures, every day of Lord Brahma, 8,640,000,000 of our years, is one day of Lord Brahma, his 24 hours. Every day of Brahma, there are 13 Manus. Manu is where the term man comes from. Manu is like the father of humanity. But every day of Lord Brahma, there are 13 Manus. Every day of Brahma, there are 1,000 cycles of the 4 ages, Satyatreta, Dwapara, and Kali. Yuga meaning age. So then there's 13 Manus kind of overseeing the human species. Every day of Brahma means through the period of 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas. So a quick calculation tells us if we quickly divide 13 into 1,000, what do we get? Anyway, we get whatever we get, don't we? So it's something like 70 or so. Actually, there's 14 Manus. There's 14 Manus. In the lifetime of the 7th Manu, every cycle of the 4 ages, in the lifetime of the 7th of the 14 Manus, then in the Dwapara Yuga, Krishna himself appears in his original form. And then in the Kali Yuga, immediately after that, Krishna appears as Lord Caitanya, a complete manifestation, complete form of the Supreme Lord. But in a somewhat different mood. When Lord Krishna came, there's also extensive biographical information about Krishna, even though he was here plus or minus 5,000 years ago. I mean, there's massive biographical information about Krishna. When Krishna was here, he was pretty spectacular. He did some things, talk about superhuman, talk about sort of super duper superhuman. Like he showed Arjuna, as we know in Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter, Lord Krishna showed Arjuna, who he was speaking Bhagavad Gita to, he showed Arjuna what is called his universal form, in Sanskrit Vishvarup or Virat Rup. Universal form means how he, the Supreme Lord, is pervading the universe. Yeah, how he's present in all aspects of the universe. And of course, interestingly enough, there is an incalculable number of universes within the material sphere. Yes, so when Lord Krishna was here 5,000 years ago, he demonstrated, you could say, he demonstrated his godhood, if you want to put it that way, by doing some really, really incredible things, truly incredible things. When Krishna appeared as Lord Caitanya 500 or so, actually it was in 1486 according to our Western calendar. In 1486 Lord Caitanya appeared. And, you know, we don't really say took birth, because he's not an ordinary person like us. He appeared by his own sweet will, without having to go through the whole experience of taking birth, as we have all done. So when Krishna appeared as Lord Caitanya, he didn't do that. I mean, he did a little bit he did, but not too much. He didn't do so many of those spectacular, incredible, superhuman things like Lord Krishna was doing almost every day. Actually, Lord Caitanya, when he was here, he conducted himself like a devotee. Like a devotee. For a particular reason. You know, when Krishna was here 5,000 years ago, there were not a large number, but there were some people who tried to say that they were him. Yeah, sort of competitors. They wanted to be recognized as God. So they sort of tried to copy Krishna as far as they could, which was not very far at all. But at least they tried to promote themselves like that. So this is what happens when people become prominent in human society. Other people copy them. You know, I remember when I was young, back in the 60s, you know, I sort of arrived on the scene. I was a late Elvis Presley fan. I don't know if you've heard of Elvis Presley. I was a late Elvis Presley fan, yeah. But an early Beatles and Rolling Stones fan. And when the Beatles and the Rolling Stones arrived, you know, it was the thing in my just early childhood, in the 50s, men of any age had to have short hair. Oh yeah, short. That was the thing, it was the only thing. And there was no such thing as a young man or any male with long hair. And then the Beatles came, particularly, and the Rolling Stones also, and they had long hair. And before you knew it, within, say, a year, if you're a young man like I was a teenager, if you didn't have long hair, you were just out. You were a social reject. I mean, not entirely, but it was so common. At least if you wanted to be cool, you just had to have long hair. You really had to. Because people copy prominent people. So Lord Caitanya, he acted. He is the Lord. He is the Supreme Lord. But he conducted himself as a devotee so that, I mean, for different reasons, but one important reason, So that when people recognized that, wow, this person is really, really special, and they would copy him, they would become devotees, because he was living as a devotee. Not just living as, but demonstrating how to really be a devotee of the Supreme Lord, of himself in this age. Yeah. So therefore Lord Caitanya, he was not so sort of flashy or dramatic or spectacular or that sort of thing, those sorts of things. Like Lord Krishna was, and like Krishna, even in his partial forms, he normally is. He's really just in another category altogether compared to people like us. So, but Lord Caitanya, he conducted himself as a devotee in order to set that example, so that on one hand people would be able to understand, okay, if I'm going to become a devotee, how do I do it? What do I do? Plus, so that when people were impressed by him and wanted to copy him, they just decide, oh, I must become a devotee of the Lord. Yeah, so this is Lord Caitanya. In very simple terms, there's a little more, there's another aspect to it, another one or even a couple of aspects which are important, is that when Lord Caitanya appeared, when Lord Krishna appeared himself as Lord Caitanya, he was teaching and demonstrating that in order to become God conscious in this Kali Yuga, one may do many devotional activities, but particularly focus should be given to the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, and particularly the name Krishna as such. So that was there. But, you see, Krishna, he has his own pastimes, his own associates, his eternal associates. He has his eternal relationships with the topmost of all devotees, particularly the inhabitants of Vrindavan. They're the topmost of all devotees of all the different forms of the Lord. And their love for Krishna and their pastimes, their interactions, their relationships with Krishna are on a higher level than the relationships of the devotees of other forms of the Lord with whichever form they're particularly connected to. Yes, I realize this may sound a little abstract or a little maybe difficult to follow, but we're all here, so we might as well get into it while we're here. So Lord Caitanya, he came like that. And I'm going to read another verse. This is actually from Caitanya Charitamrita, the main biography of Lord Caitanya. Adi Leela, chapter 3, verse 4. Let me just read the English. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendentally situated in the innermost core of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has descended in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before. That is the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. So the devotees of Krishna in his original form, they are the topmost of all devotees. The devotees of his other forms who appear in the other Kali Yugas and appear at all sorts of different times, actually. The associates, the devotees of those forms of the Lord, they're not on the same level of devotion and love for the Lord as the devotees of Lord Krishna. So, Lord Krishna wanted that more people, would be able to have access to him in his original form. And therefore he appeared as Lord Caitanya to give that access. To give that access through the chanting of his name, the name of Krishna. And so here's another verse. It's just a couple of verses after the one I just read. This is Krishna himself speaking, that I shall come, I shall personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nam Sankirtan. It's a Sanskrit term. Nam means the name or names. And Sankirtan refers basically to chanting. Chanting with other people, Sankirtan, together. So I shall come and personally inaugurate the religion of the age, Nam Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy name. I shall make the world dance in ecstasy, realizing the four mellows of loving devotional service, different types of relationships that one can have with God. But these are in the topmost forms of intimacy and closeness. So like this, Krishna came as Lord Caitanya to establish the recommended process of religion for Kali Yuga, the chanting of the holy names, but particularly the chanting of his name, Krishna, in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, as we said, being the topmost, but then Rama is there also, of course. That's the second tier manifestation of the Lord. Yes, so as Krishna 5,000 years ago was thinking about this, then Krishna thought as follows. Listen to this. I shall accept the role of a devotee, and I shall teach devotional service by practicing it myself. Unless one practices devotional service himself, he cannot teach it to others. This conclusion is indeed confirmed throughout the Gita and the Bhagavatam. So this is Lord Krishna thinking 5,000 years ago when he was here. This is Lord Krishna thinking of appearing as Lord Caitanya himself. So this is very relevant to all of us. This is very relevant. You know, those of us who are familiar enough with the Hare Krishna movement you know, we chant Hare Krishna a lot. Really a lot. Actually, we're popularly called the Hare Krishna movement, but that's not our name. It's just a sort of popular, you know, something that's been embraced by people from the mid-60s when Prabhupada came to America and established the movement there. Actually, we are the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. That's our name all over the world, including here in South Africa. In fact, and the sort of the acronym is ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And back in 1975, when we registered ourselves as such in South Africa, you know, the government was different to what it is now. It was really different. And one of our devotees, who happened to be a white South African and kind of, you know, mixed Afrikaner and English, he went to Pretoria to register us as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And the fellow behind the desk, some sort of, you know, bureaucrat, our devotee presented the papers and said, yeah, we want to register International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And the man said, no, you can't be International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. You have to be the South African Society, SASCON. So our devotee said, well, you know, we're actually all over the world. We're just kind of everywhere, and this is the name we use, International Society, ISKCON, so we want to register like that. And the man said, no, you got to be SASCON. Then our devotee, Shri Radharanath, Shri Giri Govardhan, Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Our devotee had a couple of homemade sweets, prasadam, with him. And he pulled one out. And he said, you know what? My wife made this for you. Eat it. And this bureaucrat, it normally didn't happen when people were trying to register organizations. He looked at the thing. It was prasadam. It had been offered to the Lord. And he ate it in one go. And he said, all right, you can be the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, ISKCON. Shows the power of prasadam. But anyway, this is some background. This is some background to Lord Caitanya and his relevancy, you could say, the connection that we have with him. That our foundational activity is the chanting of the holy names, and particularly the name Krishna. And we'll do it in a minute or two. This is where it's all coming from. And we ourselves, in our own, you know, our efforts to progress spiritually and develop our Krishna consciousness, we should focus on the chanting. We should focus on the chanting. And you know, if you do that, and if you really make your best effort and you give your attention, and you know, you don't sort of chant, but then your mind is just elsewhere, and the chanting becomes like a background noise. If you really give your attention, then you'll find it has quite an amazing effect. I remember when I first started, back actually in January 1973, I had chanted a bit because Hare Krishna had been top of the hit parade, and I was a hit parade man. And, you know, George Harrison was into it, and anything that George Harrison was into, it just had to be cool. So I chanted Hare Krishna, but not very seriously. But then I moved into the temple, actually in London, on January 7th, 1973, and really got into it, chanting and the whole practice, the way of life. And after a couple of weeks, I realized that, wow, I had a lot of anxieties and concerns about life and me and just everything. I realized after a couple of weeks, all those anxieties, they've just gone. They just disappeared. And I feel peaceful. And I feel clear-headed. And I feel happy. So if we do what Lord Caitanya taught and demonstrated, if we really focus on it nicely, then we will find it has such a powerful transformative effect on ourselves. Completely amazing. Completely amazing. And that's the mission of Lord Caitanya. That's the relevance of Lord Caitanya to ourselves. And stay tuned for over the next couple of weeks, because we'll be having some more programs in this sort of vein. And on Friday, in almost 2 weeks, right here, we'll have the main festival, and that'll be really, really wonderful. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.